Again, we remember a year ago today, April 16th, the massacre of 32 students in Virginia Tech. So are we any safer today? Are we more prepared to stop a Seung Hui Cho? Well, Virginia Governor Tim Kaine has signed new legislation. It requires colleges to create threat assessment teams to deal with troubled students. Sounds like a need a preemptive strike to me, but is that the answer? Here to talk about it, Karen Bauer, attorney at Maslon Center for Mental Health Law. She says this could be going overboard. And we also have with us lawyer Carolyn Reinach-Wolf. She's director of Campus Behavioral Health Risk Consultants. Carolyn, let's start with you. If these threat assessment teams were in place a year ago, would Cho have been stopped?
That's really a big question. Certainly the threat assessment teams are a way to communicate between and among personnel on campus from a variety of disciplines. And that was one of the issues that was discussed after the Virginia Tech massacre, was that Cho was on everybody's radar screen, but people just didn't connect the dots. And that's the point of these threat assessment teams.
Karen, do you find, real quick, and we got to go to break, do you think this is wrong? We going overboard with this?
I think there's no problem with teams forming and with sharing communication among individuals. The problem is with the term threat assessment team, which is really more about what can we do to protect ourselves from you instead of what can we do to provide supports and services to you.
All right.
And it sends students the wrong message.
Carolyn and Karen, both of you, hang tight. We're going to carry this over the break. We're going to get specific. What can colleges do? What should they do to keep your kids safe and mine? Stay with us. And welcome back to Prime News. We're talking about, we're really harking back to a year ago today. Again, that unbelievable time, the massacre at Virginia Tech. 32 students were massacred there. But we want to know, are we any safer today? Joining us to talk about it once again, Carolyn Reinach-Wolf and Karen Bauer. Carolyn, let me ask you, we're talking about threat assessment teams. I know Virginia Governor Tim Kaine signed legislation basically authorizing colleges to be prepared to share more information. Get specific, though. You even said, what is a threat, that terminology, threat assessment teams. Let's get specific. What are they going to do? What didn't they do last year that they could be doing now?
I think the bottom line in all of this is the sharing of information and communication across campus, to have a central location where concerns that are brought by faculty, other students, various disciplines on campus can come together, discuss students who are of concern or at risk, as we call them, discuss what are the possible options for intervention. Sometimes they need to be referred to the counseling center. Sometimes they need to be referred to the dean's office. It depends on what the issues are that you need to identify, but it's a centralized system. We actually recommended to one of the state's task forces the idea of starting what we call an Office of Mental Health.
Okay, Karen, forgive me for interrupting, time's of the essence. So that's the basics there. Karen, you have a problem with that. It sounds good to me. If some kid is making some wild accusations, some wild threats, we got to know about it. We've got to do something about it, don't you think?
I think certainly schools have to be concerned if there are students that are at risk. The majority of students on campus who are experiencing mental health issues need supports and services and are nonviolent. So behavioral support teams that are there to reach out to those students who might need additional supports and provide supports for them could be beneficial. But again, threat assessment is linking threats and violence with people who have mental illness.
Okay. How do you know the difference, Karen? How do you know when the difference between depression and we've got someone who's violent, who's a danger to me or my kid who goes to that school?
Well, again, any action that a school takes has to be based on an individualized assessment. So the school needs to reach out to the student and talk with the student and find out what's going on, and have an individualized assessment of that individual to see what the situation is.
Carolyn, are you confident we can make that assessment to really say depression versus violence? And if a kid's violent, we got to do something.
Well, I do believe that you can train staff across campus from all the different disciplines to identify red flags and be able to at least identify that there's a problem, take it to the proper person who then has the authority and the expertise to make a determination about referral, about level of violence, about the need to intervene with a student who's just having a bad time or has other concerns.
No, I agree. And ladies, thank you for your time. And I'm all for that, for the child, for the kid, for the student who needs help. Let's give it to them. But once we feel that we've got a threat on our hands, I think we have to err on the side of caution and do something about it. And if that means removing the student from the school, you got to do it. Because if we go soft on some of these students, we see what can happen. Some kids could die. All right, ladies, thanks again.